call, please, Judy.
Bill Ernst,
Present.
John Dooley,
Here.
Mary Bailey,
Here.
Deborah Potter,
Here.
Kevin Whipple.
Here.
Okay. Approval of the agenda, there's a slight change on the agenda. Above the update by John Fleischer, who's actually Paul Schaefer, we're gonna have Mike from HMD.
HEB.
Talk to us about the security on the airport. Any other changes, corrections?
That'll be under old business.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he wasn't here last time
Okay.
to explain to us.
I'll move we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes?
They were perfect.
Yeah, they were.
Well,
They were, it's a good, you could run.
Okay, I accept the motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, financial report done.
Yes, the financial report for the Greensburg Municipal Airport. Now remember, some of these monies in the accounts are in transition, so the three accounts, we have the airport improvement account. The current balance stands at $1,937,341.74. Aviation Rural Refuel account stands at $121,687.05. In airport operations, $437,041.14. The total of these three accounts plus some money, we have that transitional account for Jackson County Bank, but the total of all the accounts, $2,011,748.17.
No,
I'm sorry, correction, $2,496,671.93. That's all four accounts.
and then the payoff for the Jackson County Bank is $2,830,677.71, which leaves us in the red, $334,005.78. Okay,
Which is pretty good. It was estimated to be $500,000 or $600,000. We had, when the project started, but we had, some monies due to COVID, they were going to 100% reimbursement, so we're actually in pretty good shape there, better than estimated when we started, so,
and then the $500,000 that Mayor Manus gave us,
yes.
that helped us out a bunch too.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Mike?
I guess where do you guys want to start? You want me to explain what was asked of me, and then you guys can ask me questions, or you want to start with you guys asking me questions?
Just start from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm presently doing the security work for the city of Greensburg. We've been at the police station, we've been working at the existing fire station, we're gonna be at the new fire station, the new city garage, and we're trying to bring the city all together with a like system throughout the whole city, so that things can be cohesive everywhere. If the police need to look at cameras, they'll know what they're doing, and it's not gonna be just a mix mash different thing. So I was here one day, and the mayor and the city engineer asked me if I would go out and look at the airport, go out and look at some of the parks, some of the other city facilities that they felt like could use some security. Mainly because you guys had an incident, I think, at the airport that there's nothing there now, so there was nothing to go back to look. So I rode with the city engineer, he rode with me. We went over to the airport, and he's just basically said, just give me a general, a small general camera system for the facility. So I walked into your existing office, or whatever you guys call that building. I was in that building. Then we drove down by the storage buildings and came all the way around and just kind of got a general view of what was going on. And so I told him what I would do is just give them a base to start. We didn't want to go to the Taj Mahal to get going, but we need something, he said. So that's kind of where we went. We didn't try to do over it. So my plan was initially is just to put the recording device, which is, if you have internet at that facility. You would be able to see it off-site via an app or an internet connection at the police station or your house or your phones, whatever you guys deem that's what you guys want to do. That's all doable by almost any manufacturer that's on the market these days. That's a common thing, it's not any special. So we're gonna put a recording device that'll give you a month's worth of storage in the office, with 4 cameras hanging in and off of the office to start. Basically, watching who's coming in through the front gate, one probably inside the building, one watching, if I'm standing at the front, on the front porch, basically of it, just looking down the front of those hangers that go that way, one watching going to the right towards the runway. Something like that, you know, so that we kind of getting a general view. Then what I planned is if I'm sitting on the porch again, if you go down the front of those hangers, there's a telephone pole on the back side of those hangers. As you go down that parking lot, there's a big telephone pole down there. If we can get 110 volts to that pole, which the engineer thought that would not be a problem, we could hang a wireless transmitter from the building to that pole and hang 2 cameras off of that to kind of watch the backside of things that are going on down there. And do the same thing all the way to the far end of the hangars. At the far end of that hangar in the middle, probably somewhere, and watch down where you really can't see anything from the office. There's a complete dead spot all down there, and then the other one turned and pointed towards your new control thing on the runway, and just kind of start there. The system basically, you know, we're looking at like 8 cameras. The system that we would install would be able to go up to 16 cameras. So if we needed to add more at any given time, like off those poles, each one of the poles will initially be able to handle 4 cameras apiece. I only quoted you to put 2 on at a time so that you didn't go overboard in the beginning. And so you can see what you're getting, you know. And then if we needed to upgrade that piece so that, you know, that would put us at 12, you know, and we could add another receiver somewhere if we needed to. I was really hoping that they ran a network cable or a piece of fiber from the office to the new little control shack at the end of the runway, and then we could have put one looking down the runway. You kind of could have seen some things going on, but he said that was not in place. I talked to a gentleman that was doing the controls between the 2 buildings. He said, so we could do a wireless connection there again, and then you could look and see what's going on the runway and some different things, you know, going on from there. But so basically, it's just a starter system that's capable of growing as you would, you know, see fit if you wanted it. So other than that.
So question, you said it has a month worth of recording. Does it record continuously or is it motion activated?
Motion, we'll set it for motion, because we don't need to record the wind blowing grass out there for you, you know, we would set the motion detection up, so, which would actually extend the recording probably past a month. What we do is guarantee you a month's worth of motion recording, yeah, out there, so.
You said the cameras are wireless, correct?
The camera, nothing's truly wireless, because everything takes power, no matter what we do. But the connection between the building and the pole is wireless, Wi-Fi. And it's just a transmitter and a receiver, it's point to point, just straight at each other.
But it does take 110 to operate.
110 on the pole to power the Wi-Fi and the cameras, because we end up using a PoE and switch out there to inject power to the cameras. So
The 110's cut or the power goes out for some reason, cameras go dead too.
cameras go dead too, correct. Now we can add battery backup to those. It takes a 48 volt battery backup, but that's definitely doable. I can quote you what that would take for the voltage for, you know, the backup for that.
Cameras on the building, are they wireless or
They'll be wired in with Cat 5, so that they are wired directly back to the recorder itself. And they get all their power and video transmission through that wire.
Again, no power goes out, we don't have cameras, or if somebody cuts a wire,
Well, they won't, the wires to the cameras, they won't be exposed. We won't expose those to the public. those wires will be very hard to cut. They'll either be in the attic or ran in conduits or whatever the case needs to be fit to get back to the recorder for those. And we can put the whole recording system on a battery backup, a UPS system, to where basically the 4 cameras on the building itself somebody would actually physically have to be inside the building, power down the cameras, power down the UPS, unplug the whole thing, have knowledge of the building, you know what I mean?
Right.
And ultimately, there's nothing I can do about that. You know what I mean? There's, that's out of my control there, you know? If they spend the time to do that, you probably have way bigger problems, because, I mean, they're really gonna be after something, so.
But I was concerned about cutting power.
Yeah, well, we could put a UPS right with the unit itself in the building, and that will take care of that. And the 4 cameras hanging off the office is kind of gonna give you a general view of both those points that they could cut. So even if somebody was out there cutting it, you're probably gonna get some kind of footage of somebody doing something like that.
And we can also put battery backup then on these poles.
We could put battery backups on the poles, yeah.
And is that quite a bit of an added cost?
No, I need to check on the 48 volt one, the battery backup for that. The one that goes in the office is in a couple $100, you know what I mean? So it's not thousands, and I would not suspect that the one on the pole is gonna be, not in the hundreds also.
And is this something that has to be maintained, changed out?
About every 3 to 5 years, the batteries will need to be changed. Yeah, it's a standard UPS where it has, batteries inside of it that trickle charge the whole time they're sitting there, and they may never get used. One of those things where they're probably only gonna get used, let's hope, if the power actually goes out to the pole, and then they'll stay on. But other than that, yeah.
And the only reason I'm asking is most of the security systems I've seen, the downfall is power.
Right, so generally what happens if we get 110 volts at the pole, it's running a piece of conduit up to 15 feet where our box is. So to actually cut it, you gotta cut the conduit, it's not just like there's a wire hanging there for you to cut. So it hasn't been an issue in the last 6 projects we've done over the course of the last 2 years like this.
Okay.
So.
Do we need that lighting?
These are infrared cameras, and they do see, 60 to 100 feet in the dark. If you want to see a little bit farther, like a general view, then we would have to, that would be something we'd assess maybe after you did it, to see, hey, we need to add a light off the back of this hanger or whatever. That I didn't investigate very well to see what kind of
Are they
light.
high definition?
Yeah, 4K. This is, like I said, this is one of those things where you can start and you can come to me later and say, we need a super camera to watch the control building out there, right? Okay, then we can look at that. This is truly a general, not cheap, don't get me, I'm not trying to use those kind of words, but this is the affordable base to start, where you want to start. And then you can grow from here, or you can stay status quo, you can do whatever you want, but it's gonna work. That's our important thing. We gotta keep it simple, and it works, and everybody's happy.
I'd be certainly interested in proceeding with something like that. It'd be a time to do something like that. What do we need to further quote with you're asking about the battery backup?
I definitely think we would want to amend this quote with the battery backup and do that, simply because I understand he's saying it's in conduit and so forth and so on, but if they want to get rid of the power, that's a pretty simple thing to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys that are going to be, they're not professionals, but they're better than the average Joe. That's what they go for first is power.
So, on my phone, I just pulled up a park that we just did in Bright, over Bright, Indiana. So this would be similar to something that you guys would be looking at. So I'll pass it around to you so you can actually kind of see. But they only have 4 cameras, so I can pull all 4 cameras up. If you want to click on one at a time, it'll come up. You double click it, it'll right come up.
images, if you were to view the images, would they be expandable, or could you see a license plate?
License plates, now that is the hardest thing in our whole industry to get.
Yeah.
If you want license plates, we need to, on that front entrance, we need to get low, we need to get facing or following the car. See, we only have rear license plates in Indiana, so we gotta get the back of the car, and we gotta get the right angles, because they are reflective, so you can see them better at night, you know, and the whole 9 yards. So that's a different animal to have a discussion on in a given time. You say, hey, we really wanna get the license plates as they enter, and then they're going on, then that would be something we'd have to focus on in a general, a different thing.
Could you zoom in on a face perhaps if necessary, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So, that's what I'm kinda doing right now, kinda give you an idea. Even on my phone. So this is just a general view of the playground at the park. And you can just zoom right in on that, and then you can zoom out. Get my two standard depth, so high def one. Their internet's not the greatest at that park, so sometimes when I ask it to do things like show me height, picture cleared up, their internet doesn't wanna pump out the information that.
So this is their park, and like, if it'll stay in high def, then I can actually do some things for them. But you can zoom in, and you can definitely tell who's there and what's going on, right, for your photos and different things, so.
And again, that is a standard feature of almost every manufacturer out there, so it's not specific to what I'm doing. The other thing, the brand that we're trying to go with is a company called Envid. They're tied up with Annixter or Wesco. I don't know if anybody ever heard of those two companies. They're a huge electrical supply nationwide. They are NDAA compliant, so we won't have any government problems going forward. So that's always important on these projects, especially at an airport. You want to be NDAA compliant, not get in trouble. So, other than that, that's it.
Just so I want to clarify one thing, that the power that you're gonna run, like up these poles, is for the Wi-Fi unit, not the cameras, or
Both.
both?
Okay. So what happens is we run 110 volts up. I mount a weatherproof box, and I put an outlet actually inside that box.
Okay.
Okay. Inside that box, then we plug in a small PoE style computer switch, which supplies internet and power. We mount the antenna basically on the outside of that plastic box. It gets plugged into the PoE, which supplies the Wi-Fi coming in, and then each one of those cameras gets plugged into that switch also, which supplies the power to each one of the cameras, and then transmits its signal back to the office.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's worked really well. We did this at, if you guys know where Markland Dam is down in Switzerland County, close to the casino. We just did this for the Parks Department down there, on a bigger scale for them, because they were having drug and theft and way more issues than we wouldn't talk about what was going on in that park, down there, and they've been real happy, so. They took a lightning strike to their office building, though. It killed some other things on the office, but the pole survived. That was the good news. So, but yeah, this has kind of been a very stable thing after we started doing it. We've done it, like I said, about 6 times in the last year and a half, 2 years.
There's other city entities doing this also from Greensburg, or?
The wireless stuff,
Yeah, what we're talking about here.
not the wireless, because all the new buildings I'm doing, I'm able to run a wire to.
Yeah.
And we're putting wires under the ground to some poles and everything over at the new site for the firehouse and the city garage, so we don't have to do wireless over there. Other than that, I haven't done the cameras at any of the facilities. I've done some repairs, but we didn't do the original installs in any other buildings here. So as time goes on, we're gonna be transitioning into doing all this stuff.
Would additional lighting be of any benefit?
Oh, it would, yeah. What it's gonna do is if we go to infrared, it's gonna be in black and white at nighttime. If we have nice bright light, we can make them do color, and you're gonna get the color definition even at nighttime. So, but that's
table and vote on the, from last meeting?
What do you ask, you want to ask to table this till next,
No, we tabled it the last meeting.
right?
Bring it back up off the table and vote on it tonight.
But we don't have a dollar figure to vote on it,
Yeah,
am I
we
right?
do.
Do we?
$5,840.
We're talking about battery add-ons.
That didn't include the battery add-ons.
I did not, yeah. So I can get that to you,
For the next meeting?
for the next meeting, yeah.
Okay.
There's no monthly maintenance fee?
No.
or anything?
This, once you purchase the equipment, everything else, it's, you own it.
So if it goes down or something goes wrong,
We fix it. You call me and I fix it. I warranty everything for a year. And if it needs maintenance or anything else, you call us and we come out and take care of it for
After
you.
the year though, it's our expense.
Yeah. Yes,
Would,
Mayor.
would they be responsible for getting power to the poles? That's
Yes,
not in here.
yeah. I think if you read on here, the 110 volt to the pole was gonna be the responsibility of you guys. So, we'll supply the box and the outlet and all that stuff, but 110 of the poles. And for some reason, the one that goes on the building, that should be easy, because I think there's 110 volts in all your buildings down through there. So that's just gonna be getting me a feed from there. It's that pole that's all the way across that would be, and it can even go overhead from a building to that pole for all I would care. From a hangar to that pole would be easy too, so I haven't really given it much thought. But, yeah.
Okay. Wait for your update.
All right, I'll send you an update and then you guys let me know. We'll go from there. All right, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mayor. Good to see you.
Update on construction from Paul Schaefer.
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint, John. John's coaching some soccer tonight, so he let me come back here and say hi to you all, so appreciate it. Yeah, we've got a couple of action items, but I'll give a report on the project and update on construction, before we get into those. Basically, they're looking real good. Everything's paved out. They turned the lights on today and burned them for a while, so really the remaining things to do, install the PAPIs, precision approach path indicator lights on each end. The surface coat of asphalt on the taxiway connector that goes from the new runway across the old runway to the old taxiway, that needs to be installed. Little touch up on the grading, those sorts of things, and we'll be ready to open, so. Everything looks in pretty good shape out there, and, yeah, we're pleased we're finally gonna open the runway, so congratulations. We'll have a better celebration on September 23rd. Any questions on construction or anything you're seeing out there?
There, just to clarify, there are X's on the roadways, still the new roadway.
Yeah, there's yellow X's on there, right now, and lights are turned off at night, so they don't, they can't turn them on. When we open it, we'll remove the X's, the lights are pilot controlled. All right. Well, from, runway action items, we've got, AIP 20 there, so it's partial pay request number 15, and then out $188,711.77, and that's 100% federal funds, no match on that, so, looking for a motion on that action item.
I move we approve the partial pay request number 15 on AIP 20 in the amount published here, amount listed.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved.
And the second action item is for AIP 21, which is the next grant there, and that's partial pay request number 8 in the amount of $187,384.53, and that's the total. You can see the share breakdown out there, the Fed share $168,647, and the state and local share there $9,369 and change.
pay request number 8 on AIP 21 in the amount listed there.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Okay, and then the third action item is the motion to approve the contractor's progress estimate number 8 for David Mayer Contractors in the amount of $319,830.86, and that's also for the runway project.
I'll make a motion to approve contractor's progress estimate number 8 in the amount of $319,830.86.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Okay, and then the other items on here, the land acquisition, you've got AIP 22, that was issued and processed, and so, should have gotten that, federal amount in $2,062,860. Last month, no action required on that, but that one now will be closed. The bipartisan infrastructure, bill, as we call it, project, which is to put a little apron out at the intersection of the old runway and the old taxiway so that we have a place to park the larger jets that we expect on the larger runway. That's still a work in progress with them. We had to update the airport layout plan, get an environmental, all those things in line. So we're getting closer, and hopefully we'll be able to move on that next construction season, get that constructed out there for you. And then that future hangar terminal layout reporting there, that we submitted an ALP update that has the new runway showed as the existing runway now. And it also showed these changes with the jet apron or the holding apron there that I just talked about. Taxiways and hangars that all showed, what they wanted is they wanted to know that if you built that apron, that all the hangars would still be usable if you were to rearrange the airport in some way, shape, or form, knowing that the old terminal plan wasn't gonna happen because of the county highway line. So they wanted to see that there was a plan to build hangars and have a future build out around that apron. So that's what that was all about. We got that done. So that's basically everything we've been working on. Next month, we'll be talking about CIPs again, because they'll be due December 1st, I think, and not just sent out a notification on that. So we'll do all the CIPs and start working on the next set of projects now that we got this runway.
I had Paul out at the airport and showed him the taxiway between the hangars, to look at redoing them, what we can to make it safer and
Yeah, we'll get that plugged in there, as a project. There are some rules about how close you can be to the front of the hangars, and I think some of
45
those,
feet.
some of those hangars are awful close to the taxi lane, so we'll have to see what the FAA will pay for and will not. But we'll get a number worked up and put it in there and see where it goes.
Okay. Could you explain to everybody how the opening of the new airport will run since the old one has been officially closed? How it will open?
Yeah, so the NOTAM services wouldn't let us put in the official closure NOTAM just yet, from what I understand. So right now, it's got a closed NOTAM, but it doesn't say permanent behind it, it just says closed. And so when the 7 days prior to opening, which I think we're at now, the new NOTAM for runway 119 can be published, so there'll be new runway 119 available. And then the NOTAM for 1836 closed, they'll add the word permanent behind it. And so then the runway will open in visual rules, so it'll be visual only. You can use it at night, anytime, just visual rules. 1,000-foot ceilings, 3 miles of visibility, at night, daytime, whatever. And then your approach is, it's kind of a moving target because these approach procedure people kind of keep changing the ball around a little bit. So we hope that we can get, originally the most of the tree trimming. We did a drone survey over it, found that there were a handful of trees out there that still need to be trimmed. So we're sending the trimmers back out to trim. And then before we have the big airplane, there's an official surveying airplane that'll go through and do the final survey. And once the FAA feels all warm and fuzzy about that, the approaches will be published. Certainly hope that happens as soon as possible, because you know, your bigger airplanes will want the instrument approaches as soon as possible.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Will there still be like VOR approaches off of Shelbyville or?
There, I think there will be a VOR circling, and then there will be there'll be an RNAV of some sort, GPS RNAV.
At each end?
I think the plan is to have it each end, yeah. The minimums, from what I saw, are better than what you had, but, I mean, it'll be an improvement from what you had before. They're not the lowest in the world. I think the draft that I saw was
300 feet?
300 3/4 of a mile or something like that. So, where I think now you have 800 a mile, right? Yeah.
So what day will 119 open for visual, under visual flags?
That's a good rule.
18th.
Or a good question. I think the 18th, so long as, we get the pappies are working and all the lights and all the grading works, but the 18th is the slated date.
Okay.
If the work, if they inspect it and it's not ready, it might be the 19th, but right around there. It's planned to be the 18th.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you.
Mr. Scheidler.
Well, not a lot to report right now, being as we're closed, but, I've had quite a few people asking me about hangars. They're all interested in what we're gonna do in that respect, so hopefully I told them I'll probably find out something more after this meeting tonight. Other than that, just got a lot more mowing to do, been busy with that. It's a little bit challenging on some of the slopes. Feels a little bit, well, there's actually, has to be some patching up done with washouts. Go along and what the tractor, it drops into a low spot, it kind of gives you a thrill you really don't like. And I hope we can get that corrected, make it feel safe out there, so, we'll see how it all goes.
You got the new mower deck there?
Right.
Yeah, how's that working?
It's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, get a lot done in a little bit of time, but, there's just a lot of uneven spots out there that they're gonna dress up a little. Some areas I can't cross with the mower because they're too ridgy. They're gonna soften those ridges to make it mowable, and, those things are still gonna be done here in the next couple of weeks, so things should be getting better as we go. But other than that, that's pretty much all I got.
Do we need to bring the budget up again?
You could, but I'll take email it to you. I'm supposed to bring it in this week. But, the budget, Amy, is what passed the city council, is that right?
Well, on first reading next week.
First reading next week, so
Okay.
I'll email it to you. We've got it complete. I'm supposed to bring in copies today.
Okay. Buildings for the future? Kevin?
I sent you guys by email, some, estimates, quotes for, building, for storage of our equipment, or more, things like that. One of the renditions was a lean-to added onto a current building out there. And the amount was, the prep for the groundwork was $32,50, and then the actual building was $31,700 for a total of $34,950. And Bill had asked me also to get a estimate or quote for a 40 by 40 separate building, which I got that, and that is the prep work for the ground and everything is $44.50 for that. building itself with the doors and everything is $43,300. So the total for that would be $47,750. And I also was able to obtain from an estimate on a 42 by 300 foot hangar, which would contain 10 T-hangers in the amount of $492,000. That does include the bifold doors, the electrical, that includes the pad prep, the concrete work, and it all, for the supporting for the doors, it's steel support rather than wood support. It's, it pretty much well matches up to any specs that I've been able to find online anyway, I'll put it that way. So that is, a rough estimate at this point. We definitely want to get more details before we want to go forward with that. As far as the lean-to and the building, those are hard numbers. So.
Jerry, people that are asking about hangars, are they willing to build hangars?
Most of them have been either way. If they can lease the ground, they would build their own. One guy said he'd be in favor of putting up like a row of 12 T hangars himself and running it as a business, which would leave us, just with the project would be us leasing them ground and them. Nothing's been discussed about preparing, the elevation, all that. That all should have to be taken care of before any construction starts. And I suppose that would be on the airport board at this time, prepare the site.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? The big part would be paying for it. By this one figure on the financial report, we don't want to get ourselves in any further debt, because we're going to have to figure some way of paying that off as we go along.
We have a big sale.
One other thing, as far as the equipment building or the lean-to, this gentleman, it's LK Construction. He does have a window at the end of September, 1st October, where he could actually do this.
We need to get another bid.
So that's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
I was supposed to have had one today and he didn't get it to me, so
Okay.
I should have, but for next month.
if we can make a decision in the near future, he does have a window where he could do the construction,
Okay.
so we could get the mower and the tractor, everything in by winter. So.
Okay. Moving on. Approval of bills. Did everybody get the copy that Amy sent out this afternoon?
Yeah, I sent out an email in the 11th hour. Did everybody get that spreadsheet?
I did.
If anybody needs a copy, okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? You need a copy. Cool.
I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
I may have it.
Okay.
I just wanted to be double sure.
Okay, that's fine, I have plenty. So, again, we did get our reimbursement for the 4 core land parcels that we purchased and some of the soft costs that came with it. Being that these were paid for out of 2 different funds, also 2 different banks, I wanna make sure, and that's why I created this spreadsheet, that we are reimbursing the right funds for the right amounts. Instead of just putting it all, ideally, we would love to just go ahead and pay as much of that JCB loan down, but that does not match what was paid out of that fund. So this reflects that, and I just kinda need, an approval, and it can be an approval along with the bills, so it can just be one, as long as it's reflected in the minutes that you did approve for me to transfer this money or reimburse it to where it needs to go.
Do you have another copy of that?
Yes. It's very small, I'm sorry.
This is good for business.
So there's a middle column right after the description of costs that tells you what fund it came out of. And then over on the right side, there are 3 columns, one for each of the funds that has the breakdown of what should go back into those different funds.
Anybody got any questions? Ask Amy.
It looked like it was laid out like it should be.
I'll accept the motion to approve paying the bills and this.
I'll move we approve all of it, our bills plus what Amy's presented here.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Any comments from the board, from the audience or the board? If not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So many.
Second.
Any thirds? All those in favor say aye.